Have you ever wondered what a truly exceptional week of training actually looks like? Not just on paper, but, in the real world? Well, today we're going to do just that. We're going to dive into a case study, breaking down this incredible week of marathon training to pull out the key principles that really anyone can use to go after a big goal. And it all starts with this number. 92.5 kilometers. Just let that sink in. That's the total distance this runner covered in just 1 week. Now, that is some serious volume, but the real magic here isn't just in the distance itself. It's all about how it was structured. So we're going to dissect the whole thing, the strategy, the struggle, the raw data behind this performance, and we're going to see how they perfectly balanced endurance, speed, and recovery. Because look, this wasn't just a hard week. It was an incredibly smart week. Okay, so here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll start with the big picture of that 92K week. Then we'll zoom in on the two big ones, the endurance test and the speed breakthrough. After that, we'll talk about the art of recovery, see what an AI coach had to say, and wrap up with a plan for the next week. All right, let's dive into section 1, the anatomy of this high-volume week. The big question is, how on earth do you run over 90 kilometers and not completely fall apart? Well, the answer, in one word, is balance. And when you look at the breakdown, it's pretty fascinating. This was not about just grinding out junk miles. You can see the two biggest pillars, the long run and the key workouts, they make up about 2/3 of the week. But here's the crucial part. Look at that other third. Almost 20% recovery runs, another 16% on-pace runs. It really is like a perfectly balanced training diet. So what's the results of all that balance? Well, check this out. The whole week, through all that stress and high mileage, the runner's Garmin watch stayed locked on a marathon prediction of 3 hours and 8 minutes. It didn't waver. And that stability is a huge sign that the training was working, the body was absorbing it, and they weren't tipping over into burnout. Okay, so let's dig into that first big pillar, the endurance test. We're talking about a 30-kilometer long run here. And believe me, this was just as much a mental battle as it was a physical one. And this quote from the runner's log, man, it just says it all. My feet hurt and I felt like breaking, but I got through it by counting my steps. This was not a walk in the park. There was real pain, real doubt, but a simple mental trick, just counting steps, was enough to get through that wall. It's such a raw, relatable glimpse into what real endurance takes. And here's the incredible result of that grit. So even though the runner felt like they were breaking, the data tells a completely different story. A solid 530 per kilometer pace, and get this, an average heart rate of just 130 beats per minute. That is so low for that kind of effort. It just shows you what a massive aerobic engine they have. So the mind was in a battle, but the body was just executing the plan flawlessly. All right, let's move on to that second pillar, the speed breakthrough. This session was a beast. A 40-minute run right at their lactate threshold. This one workout was a huge, huge leap forward in fitness. But you might be thinking, okay, what exactly is a threshold run? It's a term that gets thrown around all the time, right? But really understanding it is the key to why this whole week was such a massive success. So think of your lactate threshold as your sustainable speed limit. It's that razor's edge where your body starts producing waste, lactate, faster than it can get rid of it. The whole point of training right on that edge is to teach your body to get way more efficient at clearing it out. And when you do that, you literally raise your speed limit. You can run faster for longer. And just to give you an idea of how incredibly demanding this one workout was, just look at this chart. It shows the training load, which is basically a measure of the stress on your body. A recovery jog, it's a blip, a 43. The 30K long run, which felt so hard, that was a 152. But the threshold run, a whopping 315. That's more than double the stress of the 30K long run. This was, without a doubt, the single hardest day of the week. Which, of course, brings us to the unsung hero of this whole week, recovery. Because let's be real, you simply cannot have those monster workout days without being just as smart and intentional about your rest. So let's see how they built that into the plan.
Yeah, this wasn't an accident. Recovery was literally woven into the fabric of the week. We're talking specific, planned sessions. A little 6.5K jog right after a hard pace run, a dedicated 11K recovery run on its own day, and of course, one full day of doing absolutely nothing. It's those easy days that make the hard days, well, possible.
And this is such a key point. Recovery isn't just the absence of training. It's not just sitting on the couch.
It's an active ingredient for growth. Those super easy zone 2 jogs, they're actively helping your body heal, flushing out all that junk and getting blood to your muscles. It's literally where the magic, the growth, happens.
Okay, so the runner felt good, the data from the watch looked amazing. But what would a totally impartial observer think? Well, for a fun, modern twist, all the data from the week was fed to ChatGPT to get an AI coach's verdict. And the AI's verdict? It came back with a score of 8.8 out of 10. That's a really high mark. It's a huge validation of that balance between hard work and smart recovery. But it wasn't a perfect 10. And the AI had some pretty important warnings to go along with that score. So the AI loved a lot of what it saw. It praised how well the key workouts were done, that strong finish on the long run, and the great overall balance. But it also raised a big red flag. The acute load, basically the short-term fatigue, was getting really high. The AI warned that if this intensity kept up, the risk of overtraining was real and that it was absolutely critical to listen to the body. And that leads us perfectly into the final piece of the puzzle. What's the plan for next week? Because look, one great week is awesome, but the real goal is to string those together into a smart, sustainable month. And the key to that, especially after the AI's feedback, was all about prioritizing recovery. So the plan going forward was super simple and actionable. Step 1, make those easy Zone 2 recovery jogs the main focus of the week. Let the body absorb all that hard work. Step 2, pull back on the intensity. Just one key hard session for the week. Step 3, keep the long run under control, nice and steady. And finally, just master the basics. Keep a close eye on vitals like waking heart rate and double down on sleep and nutrition. That is how you build on a breakthrough without breaking your body down. So, what are the big takeaways from all this? I think it boils down to three main things. First, a true breakthrough week is all about that careful balance between intense stress and active rest. Second, you have to be purposeful. Different workouts build different abilities. You need both endurance and speed work. And finally, data, whether it's from your watch or an AI, is an amazing tool to help you train smarter, not just harder. And that really brings us to the final question, the one for you to think about. Because whether your goal is running a marathon, or learning a new skill, or just crushing a big project at work, the principles are exactly the same. So the real question is, how can you apply this framework, this idea of balance, purpose, and recovery to whatever big goal you're chasing this week?